Hello, beautiful soul. What if I told you that suffering is not an inescapable fate? That the restless craving, the endless seeking, the aching emptiness you sometimes feel, it is not who you are, it is not permanent, it is not truth. The Buddha's third noble truth, Nirodha, reveals something extraordinary. Suffering can end. The fire of craving can burn out. The cycle of longing can be broken. And what remains is something vast, radiant, and untouched by pain. This is the truth of liberation, the cessation of suffering, not through force, not through denial, but through awakening. Let's explore it together. The nature of liberation, seeing beyond the illusion. Suffering is not something that happens to you. It is something that arises within you, a pattern, a habit, a reaction to the world. We suffer because we believe we lack something, because we believe we need to grasp, chase, control, because we identify with the mind's endless hunger. But here's the truth. You are not your cravings. You are not your thoughts. You are not your suffering. Nirodha is the realization that you are already free. That suffering is not your essence. It is only a veil covering what has always been there. And when that veil is lifted, when the craving dissolves, what remains? Stillness, peace, liberation. Not an escape from life, but a return to it, fully, without resistance. The fire of craving, how suffering burns itself out. The Buddha described craving as a fire, one that consumes us, keeping us bound in suffering. But what happens when you stop feeding a fire? It burns out. Suffering does not need to be fought. It does not need to be conquered. It simply needs to be understood. Nirodha is the natural extinguishing of suffering. It is what happens when we stop fueling the illusion. When we stop chasing, we find that we are already here. When we stop clinging, we find that nothing was ever truly ours to begin with. When we stop resisting impermanence, we find peace within it. The world does not change. Life still moves. People still come and go. But the suffering, the attachment, the craving, the endless wanting begins to fade. And in its place, something deeper emerges. What lies beyond suffering? The nature of Nirvana. The Buddha called this state Nirvana, a word that means to blow out or to extinguish. Not extinction of the self, but the extinction of illusion. Nirvana is not a place. It is not a heaven. It is a state of being. It is the absence of suffering, the freedom from grasping, the release from craving. People often ask, what does Nirvana feel like? The truth is, it cannot be described. It is not happiness as we think of it. It is not a high, not an emotion, not a fleeting experience. It is unshakable peace. It is clarity without attachment. It is being fully alive yet completely free. And the most beautiful part? It is not something that happens after death, nor something reserved for monks or sages. It is available here, now, in this very moment. The path to Nirodha, the art of letting go. So how do we step into this freedom? How do we move from suffering to peace? The answer is not in doing more, but in doing less. Less clinging to identity, less attachment to the past, less obsession with the future. The Buddha did not teach self-denial. He taught self-liberation. And liberation comes not through fighting life, but through embracing it as it is. Nirodha does not mean we stop feeling. It does not mean we do not love or strive or experience pain. It means that we love without possession. We strive without attachment to outcome. We experience pain without identifying with it. We let life move through us, without resistance, without clinging. And in that letting go, we find what was never lost. You are already free. Here's the greatest secret of Nirodha. There is nothing you need to become. You do not need to transform yourself. You do not need to earn liberation. Because liberation is simply seeing clearly. Seeing that suffering is an illusion. Seeing that craving is just a habit of the mind. Seeing that beneath all of it, you are already whole. The path is not about adding something new. It is about uncovering what has always been there. And when you realize this, suffering begins to dissolve. effortlessly, naturally, like mist under the morning sun. Because suffering was never holding on to you. You were holding on to it, and now you can let go. Closing reflection. The end of the search. What if you stopped searching for happiness? What if you stopped resisting what is? What if, just for a moment, you trusted that nothing is missing? This is Nirodha, the third noble truth. Not an escape, not a suppression, but a return to the peace that was always within you. And so, beautiful soul, the journey continues. The path unfolds before you. But maybe, just maybe, there is nowhere you need to go. Because the freedom you seek is already here. You only need to open your eyes. Thank you for being on this journey with me today. Until next time.